Things just took a wild turn for the Toronto Blue Jays as we have multiple huge updates, but specifically one huge update surrounding Bo Bichette as the truth has been revealed behind his injury and the timeline the Jays are looking at, and more details have emerged surrounding his injury. We're going to break down exactly what those are and discuss what it means going forward, as well as a few other comments from Trey Yesavage following his fantastic start and some injury updates regarding two key pieces, one of which could be helpful as soon as the next couple of weeks before the season ends. Also, an interesting update on Bowden Francis. Ton to go over today, but before we get into it all, if you're enjoying the Daily Jays content, uploading multiple times a day for you all, this is the place to be. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. You guys have been absolute beasts for the support. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a video yesterday, one of my three, one of them covering Bo Bichette in the comments from IKF on the Deep Left Field podcast, basically revealing, in case you missed the video, that, the Jays are going to be very cautious with Bo Bichette, but IKF basically said that they're hoping to get, Bo back and play good enough to get Bo back for late in the postseason. And this had fans, flipping out a little bit. We finally have an update, and it's not exactly what we wanted to hear, but bear with me. So the initial report came out prior to yesterday's game. Bo Bichette is headed for a second opinion on his sprained left PCL. Schneider addressed the that on the Blair and Barker show. This had fans super concerned because obviously you get a second opinion. First one probably means the first one wasn't what you wanted to hear and the first one was bad. But bear with me because we have a couple of other updates. Now, I want to dive into, before we dive into some reports here, just who he's seeing. Now, he's seeing Dr. Dan Cooper for the second knee opinion. Per Cooper's website, he was recently elected into the Best Doctors Hall of Fame. Bo's in seemingly good hands. And apparently, according to Buck Martinez in the broadcast yesterday, this guy's like a Dallas Cowboys doctor or something like that for running back. So this is the guy to go to for knee injuries. But it's not good news, right? If you're getting a second opinion, and things have taken a wild turn from where they were when he returned on that rainy day in New York, but this isn't all bad. Now, on the surface, of course, second opinions usually mean bad things. However, we have to keep in mind that Bo Bichette is heading for his first major and his first basically free agency with the Toronto, or in his tenure in the MLB, and of course with the Toronto Blue Jays. He cannot risk aggravating this even more. Now, that could mean A, they're going to be super cautious with him, but more than likely, B, they're playing it safe, but they want to get a second opinion to make sure that he's actually going to be able to play without hurting it more ahead of his contract. So you can see this here. He's in the best spirits that he can be, but we're just doing our due diligence. And that is what John Schneider said surrounding Bo Bichette's injury, doing the due diligence. And that's why he's seeing the doctor, not because it got worse. He was probably feeling better than what the MRI showed. So I think that getting through this appointment will give more clarity to him and to us. Hopefully it's good news. And we can say, okay, here's what we're going to do. So we can all take a bit of a deep breath here because this clearly is, at the very least, not a great sign, but they are trying to, according to what I'm hearing and what Schneider said recently as well on the Sportsnet, basically he's playing it super safe because of his contract year. I think it was on Blair and Barker even elaborated, because of his contract year, he is going to make it so he is A, as healthy as possible, but B, he's going to get the second opinion from Dr. Cooper to make sure that, Dan Cooper confirms that he can't get any worse and that there's no risk, because he's feeling good, feeling probably close to ready to play. But of course, he hasn't done baseball activities in a week, but he doesn't want to risk his future and his contract for his family and things like that. But in a perfect world, if he can come back and play short, great. We'll see how it goes with how he's moving. It seems to me that hitting will be a little bit in front of everything else. I think we'll know more tomorrow or the next day, but if we can get his bat back, hell yeah, I'll take that. So the world's not falling down. People thought that, but they didn't really do the further research. John Schneider said it's precautionary due diligence. It's not because things are really bad. They want to confirm that they can play with him, either as a DH or a shortstop. And I wouldn't hate DH at this point. Throw Springer back in the outfield with the way Jimenez plays short. Won them the game yesterday, arguably defensively. You do that. You're making sure that he's good. You're not panicking. They want to make sure that, according to Cooper, it won't get worse. Because if he can play on it without it getting worse, he'll do that, right? There's no doubt in my mind he'll do that. But if there's a chance that it gets worse, that's where the bad news comes in, and he probably won't risk his future for that, because if he goes down with an even worse, tear or whatever it is, you don't want to risk like an MCL tear, ACL tear, anything like that. So things are okay. Shadavidi even came out and was super optimistic on the Blair and Barker show, basically saying most likely due diligence. Now, there is a world where they're hiding it and it is really bad, and they just want to kind of not give their opponents or the fan base a reason to panic, or their opponents a reason they can take advantage of it. We'll see, but it's not as bad as some fans initially thought. But at the very least, a second opinion is definitely a major turn in the development of Mr. Bo Bichette there. So let me know down below, are you panicked? What your current thoughts are? Again, keep in mind, he's setting himself up for a $200 million contract, $250 million contract. He's not going to risk that, but if he's good to go without it being any bit worse, he's going to play. And that's where it is. Also, Buck Martinez mentioned on the broadcast, Don Schneider saying here, Good chance he plays DH. There's a good chance he doesn't get back on short, especially if they don't want to risk anything. DH could be very good, get pinch ran for, and I'll take his bat back every second of the day. So bad news within some good news. Overall, I think it's a positive sign, especially compared to where IKF was standing, where people were freaking out because he said that late postseason. Seems a little bit more optimistic than that. But at the end of the day, we don't know for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see how fast it comes back, especially with how good this team is playing. Him and Santander added to the postseason could be fantastic. And also, the way things are trending now, if the Jays do win the AL East, that gives them an extra week off for Bo to rehab. Things are looking good. Now, let's dive right back into some more things here, because we're obviously at a point now where boys and girls for that matter, the Jays are in an unbelievable spot. Now, Trey Yesavage had a debut of a lifetime. Blake Murphy, talking about how insane his fastball and splitter is. Trey came out in his debut and said it was almost like there was some sort of trance put over me with a feeling of peace out there and just enjoying every moment of it. It basically said it was exactly how he intended it to go, pure domination. Folks, don't want to get ahead of myself. I think we have a future ace in Trey Yesavage, and it's finally good for someone since Alek Manoah to actually hit, in the sense of not hit with the bat, but top prospect, that's a pitching prospect, actually perform well at a level that matters. Manoah, of course, he struggled in the playoffs a little bit, but he did that in the regular season a few years ago. And now, Ricky Tiedemann was supposed to be that guy. Nate Pearson was supposed to be that guy. Brandon Barriera was supposed to be that guy. None of them have panned out. Shout out if you know Brandon Barriera, a bit of a bust first round pick. Maybe he'll come back. For Trey Yesavage to win a game that is unbelievable, and something that's kind of lost over this, they don't win that game with basically any other starter, on the mound, an average start, for example. Now, I trust every one of our starters to have a potential start like he did yesterday, 5 innings, 1 run. But this is why the Jays did it. And no disrespect to a guy like Eric Lauer or something like that. But if the Jays gave up, had Eric Lauer out there and gave up, let's say, 2 runs, 3 runs, they lose this game. That's how it was, right? Because there was 1-1 heading into the 9th inning. He won them the game. All the talk can be about Braden Fisher, and it should be. He is unbelievable, and he also won them the game, of course, and George Springer's base hit. It was Trey Yesavage that kept them in it, and this is why they brought him up. He is one of the best 14 pitchers, and boy, has it showed, and super exciting stuff with how dominant he has been. And again, we look at I guess his quote, his caption. There's not much pressure at all. I'm still playing a children's game for a living. There are 5-year-olds who play this game. I think that me, at 22 years old, I can do it just fine. He did. He did it just fine, and hopefully Yesavage can keep it up. And also, I'm curious to see where his next start is. Probably on regular days rest against the Royals, and then they can finish up the season against the Rays. A couple other notes here before I wrap up. I'm kind of I'm amped up today, so I'm a bit all over the place. Apologies. Bowden Francis, he was up to 93 miles an hour. We'll see what happens with him. Zwelling is trying to imply that he could actually be a bullpen arm out of the bullpen in the postseason. Yeah, don't know about that. And obviously, I don't want to see that happen. Get him out of my sight. Horrible year. Nick Stanley, on the other hand, he's continuing his mound progression. He threw a bullpen over the weekend in Toronto. We'll throw another in Florida later this week. He could be an interesting option, though I don't know how much room they have left with Braden Fisher being back, of course, and then Trey Yesavage potentially moving to the bullpen down the line for the postseason. But folks, that'll wrap it up. Let me know if you're enjoying this as much as I am. You guys are beasts. Thank you guys for watching. It means the world to me. Cheers.